for myself, I consider myself very intellectual. I'm not intelligent. I've just spent a lot of time researching ideas and considering concepts in my own mind as well. So the challenge, which I think I may have started this interview off with this, I may not, I can't remember. The challenge I gave myself is to project or to defend anarchist ideas whenever I'm discussing politics with people, even though I'm personally more minarchist than anarchist. So that would be my advice if I was talking to someone that was a minarchist that was considering transitioning to supporting to anarchism. What advice would you give to someone like myself that is a minarchist curious about anarchism? And what advice would you give a non-libertarian researching anarchism?
To all my anarcho-curious friends, if you're a minarchist, you already understand that there's right and wrong, and it's wrong to initiate force on peaceful people, especially if you're a libertarian. That is the founding sole principle of everything that you believe as a libertarian. And if it's not, you probably shouldn't be using that label. So the challenge has to go back on you. What do you think is an exception that justifies you attacking me without my consent? There is none is the answer.
I agree. And for myself, I think we've both mentioned a few times that we love consistency. And that's really, to me, what is most appealing about anarchism, is that it is most consistent to the non-aggression principle. Whereas if we take its polar opposite, it would be communism. And if I had to choose between one consistent ideology of communism to one consistent ideology of anarchism, I would choose freedom versus not freedom, which is why I'm definitely leaning in that direction. So the
That's
only
good. I want to thank you for that.
I want to emphasize that that I've considered myself to be intellectual, so I've challenged myself to consider the possibilities of anarchism versus minarchism. And logically speaking, in word context, there's really nothing actually holding me back other than a feeling, just an internal urge, like that says it's easier to defend allowing the government to do the three roles of law enforcement, judges, and army. So the question would be, what advice would you give to a minarchist that wants to support anarchism logically, but just doesn't feel like they have that I'm going to use the word boldness, although I'm a very bold person. It's just that extra step. What advice would you give someone like myself?
I would point out, and I've never met a person that would disagree with me when I say that the government is utterly failing at defense. Their budgets are completely absurdly out of control, stupid, insane. They are wasting more money than almost exists on the planet. They are creating as many enemies as they're killing innocent people. They are utterly failing at defense. I drive down the streets. I'm attacked by people that work for the state. I fly. I'm accosted by people calling themselves TSA for my safety that will attack me if I resist. I am not defended. If anything, I am attacked constantly by this state. And even to forget about all the times I'm attacked by the state and just to say, am I defended against external threats? I think they're doing an utterly terrible job at that as well. So first, I don't think I'm getting the defense that people are claiming to need the government to give me. I think, and even if I am, they're doing such a shitty job of it that I no longer consent. I just don't. It's wrong. Stop it. And then the rest is just to basically put your faith in the virtue of the non-aggression principle and right and wrong and the free market. There is no problem in the history of humankind that the free market has been unable to solve.
Your last statement actually reminded me of I'm going to say the spiritual side of me. being that with Christianity, which I am, I love Christ. So there is a little bit of blind faith involved. There is no empirical, indisputable, unquestionable, there is no indubitable evidence that says God is real. There is a little bit of blind faith involved with that. So I saw a parallel there, and maybe I'm wrong, but there's an ounce of blind faith involved with taking that last step to a completely free society, because it's unpredictable. Would you say I analyzed your statement there, that portion of your statement, right?
I would say that there's probably a lot more evidence that the free market can solve any problem than there is that God exists, but there is a certain internal leap. There is an internal barrier to letting go of what you feel is a system of control, even like control of your own life. To a degree, government gives people a feeling that they're in control of their self as well as the environment around them. And letting go of that is scary. And to kind of do a callback to one of your earlier questions that I didn't really answer about unschooling, we as humans accept the reality that we're presented with. When we enter the world, we don't question the stuff around us, at least until we're 6, 7, 8, 10 years old. We don't start really questioning things. We just accept, we internalize whatever's happening to us or around us is normal. And in my home, I run my home. I create an environment in my home to match the way I want the world to work, so that my kids will internalize that. They will accept this reality as the way the world is, so that when they get out of my home and people start using coercive forms of control on them, they will immediately, and it's just clear as day, a beacon will go off saying, that's out of place. They're controlling me against my consent. Stop it. Whereas I think 99% of the world, you're born into a family that's generally coercive. You are punished, you are sometimes hit, spanked, controlled constantly, nannied constantly, watched everywhere you go. Decisions are made for you without your input. And so when those people become adults, they immediately go looking, oh, where's that system of control over me that I've had all my life? I need that. Give that back to me. And I think that is where our internal barrier to freedom comes from. Because we were born, we accepted a world with a system of control over us, a control, like a leveling presence in our life that makes decisions for us, but also kind of regulates things. So we can kind of trust that that's there. And when we hit adulthood, we want that to be there too. And to get rid of that, to give up that, is scary for people like myself that were raised coercively. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, I see a similarity there, or a parallel whenever I was listening with to you, but with Mr. Arvind Bora, where he mentions cultural libertarians and changing the cultural mindset of not needing a mommy and a daddy sort of government. And when we go from our developmental years where we have a literal mommy and or daddy, then we transition into our adult years, and it's going to need a cultural change for people to not. It's going to need a cultural change for people to be more responsible, so they're less dependent upon a government like a daddy or a mommy.
Ask a Libertarian Facebook fan page is spreading awareness of libertarianism and informing non-libertarians while empowering those who support liberty on a daily basis. This is your opportunity to be empowered, and let us advocate libertarianism for you at facebook.com/askalibertarian.